What's going on, guys? This is Jensen, and I know for beginners, when you walk into a tackle store, how intimidating it can be. I mean, there's lures and hooks and weights everywhere. So what I've done right here is I've grabbed the 2 lures that I recommend for every beginner that comes to me and asks. And we're gonna go over those lures. I'm gonna give you a little information about them to where you can go out and fish them and maybe even catch some fish. All right, so the first one I wanna talk about is it's called a spinnerbait. And you have 2 little blades on here that spin around when you throw it out in the water. And one of the things I want you to know is where to tie your line onto this spinnerbait, because there's so many different places that you could do it and you're like, maybe it works, and you throw it out there and it looks like junk. So you have a little R-bend right here in the wire of this spinnerbait, and that's where you tie your line onto your bait. Just like that, you just tie a improved clinch knot or a Palomar knot, real simple, easy fishing knot right there on that R-bend, and you're good to go. Now, when you fish these, you're gonna wanna fish along the shoreline, bump it into cover. And when I say cover, I mean bushes and grass and whatever's in the water, bump it into that, and it'll deflect off of it and won't get hung up quite so much. And it's just a cast out and retrieve lure. And I promise you, everything eats these things, and they're really, really easy to fish. Now this lure right here is a little bit more difficult just because it's got a couple more parts and pieces, and that's it. You're gonna get yourself a stick bait. I know it looks like a turd, but it's called a Senko, or there's tons of different companies out there that make them, and they're real easy to find in a tackle shop. And they don't look like much, but it's a soft plastic worm. And then get yourself it's an offset worm hook is what it's typically called. It doesn't have to look exactly like this, but something similar, but an offset worm hook. And they've got different sizes. And to kind of simplify the sizes, you're looking for what's called a 4/0. It's got a number 4, a slash, and a 0. And so a 4/0 hook. And then with your weight, you're looking for bullet weights. A 1/4 ounce bullet weight is what you're looking for. And so you pick up your 1/4 ounce bullet weight, your offset worm hook, and your stick bait, and you're ready to go. Now let me show you how to rig it onto your line. Okay, you take your bullet weight, first thing, and the very narrow tip of that bullet weight goes onto your line. And you just let it drop down your line nice and free, just like that. And then you take your line and you want to tie it to your hook. Now, I use an improved clinch knot. You can also use a Palomar knot. We have those videos readily available on how to do this, so I'm just going to do it really, really quick. Improved clinch knot. Now, this is a technique that you will be using from now until the time that you stop fishing, and it's basically, we call it Texas rigging a worm. You take that offset worm hook, you take the flat end of this stick bait. Notice there's a tip end and a flat end. You take your hook and you put that hook right straight down the center of that stick bait till it starts to bend, just like that. And then you're gonna come out the side of the hook, push it all the way down to where the little bend starts, or the offset bend starts. And while you're pulling the hook through that worm, you want to twist that hook over so it looks like this, okay? Now, a real simple technique is to look right here where that hook is coming down and touching that worm. That is where the tip of the hook's gonna go in for the next step. Take and bend that worm up, go to that spot, go straight across, bam, just like that. Now, to make this thing to where it's not gonna get snagged nearly as bad, I want you to take your worm, and I'm gonna turn it this way. I want you to squish that worm up just like that, put the tip of that hook in, just underneath the skin of that worm. That's almost too far. There we go. And just like that. Now, the keys to this is you wanted to make sure that that worm is rigged as straight as you possibly can. Now, when it's hanging from your rod, it looks just like this. And that's a Texas rigged Senko or stick bait. Now, when you're fishing it, pretty simple. You're just gonna throw it around bushes and grass. You can throw it out in the middle of the lake if you want to and drag it back. Really simple. And when the fish bites, set the hook hard. and you're in for a fight of a lifetime. It's a lot of fun. I've caught a lot of really big fish on this simple rig. So the biggest thing about these two baits is they're very simple to fish, very easy to rig, and they really can get you started in the right direction in bass fishing. Just enjoy your time out of the water, and I promise you, you'll catch fish.